What's up, everybody? My name is Kyra, and thank you for tuning in to the ARkaiVE. So, I love music. It's totally something that I'm obsessed with. Every day, I'm learning to fall more and more in love with it, and it's always been in my life. So, I don't know why I'm having this new enlightenment with it, but I've been obsessed on finding all these different songs, all these different artists. I'm totally open to listening to new music, and I think that this is a very revolutionary moment in my life. It feels like a big just shift, change. So I'm excited, okay? But I think it really started off a couple years ago when I went to the Philippines for some missions work, and there was a farmer's market, and I'm like, you know what? Let me go to this farmer's market. And I found this table selling vinyl records, and I don't think I'd ever owned a collectible, I would say, or like an album that I actually listened to before, or a popular album, a mainstream album. But I did collect some vinyls from Goodwill or Salvation Army, but they were a lot of just random things. I think I had a record by Sibelius, and I knew who Sibelius was because I studied music in school, and we had to learn who Sibelius was. We used his software, the software named after him. So I would just get things like that. But little did I know that buying these few records at this farmer's market in the Philippines would totally be the first of many that I would collect, and became, super, super special to me. I just moved from state to state two times. I moved from New York, went to LA, went from LA, came back to New York, and the two things that I was absolutely not giving up was my car and my vinyls. So I just know this is really a moment. It's really a moment because I found something that I'm obsessed with. Okay, and we're gonna get into it on this show. So today I want to get into the first vinyl of this episode and this podcast or this show. I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's a podcast, but I do know that I'm going to talk about music on here. And the first one we're going to do today is none other than Around the World in a Day by Prince and the Revolution. Let's get into it. We have been blessed in this world to know, to love, and to adore the legend, the icon, Prince. And we know so many of his songs, his most popular iconic ones like Kiss and 1999, the album, Little Red Corvette, Purple Rain, of course, just so many jams. But during this era in the 1980s, Prince started this band, and they are called Prince and the Revolution. Now, this band wasn't just a backing band, it was a collaborative of different musicians that Prince played with often. A lot of these artists and musicians came about just from Prince's touring needs and being around Minneapolis, and I really can relate to that because I love playing with musicians here at home, and they're my friends, so it always makes it more fun. So I know that they were having a ball. Probably at Paisley Park, eating food, jamming, showing up to the studio every week. And I know Prince was balling during this time. I already know he had some monies, so I know they was living it up. I have a feeling it was fun. Okay, there were a few key members, and I'm gonna read them off my phone because I wanna remember them right. But Wendy Melvoin on guitar, Lisa Coleman on keys, Dr. Fink, who was also on keys, Brown Mark, who's on bass, and Bobby Z on drums. And this band again came organically together from Prince's hometown, Minneapolis, that circle. And this era eventually became one of the most center parts of his creative identity, Prince and the Revolution. Now, this particular album is Prince's 7th studio album, and this came out in 1985. And this is the follow-up to Purple Rain. It is not a sequel, and I think this was intentionally probably got a lot of, I think when you have a hit, people can really box you in, so sometimes you have to do something totally drastic, and this is drastic. This is new identity, this is collaborative, it's not just you, it's a group of people, and I know this had to be like so iconic to live through. I was only born in 95, so I wish I was alive to see it, but Prince really wanted to make an impact. Prince really wanted to do something differently than the impact he already made. He wanted to really shift his career, so he got away from the more commercial rock sound, and with this album was able to break through doors and different barriers and just expand people's minds even more. I feel like Prince was always expanding his identity and playing with a whole bunch of different things that, made you say like, oh, he did that too, And in this era, he really got away from the mainstream sound that made him a global pop star, but he really leaned more into funk, pop, and like psychedelic type of music, psychedelic type of sound. But also he played with a ton of Middle Eastern modes and scales and textures, and really leaned into orchestration. So cinematic and so grandeur, it's like super big, big drums. Like they had 2 key players in the Revolution, it was just a huge sound, but it had all of these synths and textures that were different from the genre or the type of sound or music that he was making when he became this global star. And what I love about Prince is one thing he's gonna do is confuse you on where the heck this sound came from. There's so many artists where all their music for a long time sounds the same, and Prince, sometimes you'd be like, wait, who is this? And then it's a whole Prince song that was created in this one era of where he was trying stuff, and I think that is so cool, and that's why he's one of my favorite artists. To be a fan of Prince, you need to have a range of the type of music you would listen to, because it wasn't just one sonic bug. Like, no, there was something new that was going to intrigue you, something different, something risky, and I love it. Let's get into the album art. The album was designed by Prince himself and a man named Steve Park. It was heavily influenced by 1960s psychedelic posters and album covers. They were dense, colorful, and symbolic. And they were meant to be studied, not just glanced at. Something really cool about this album art is the band members are actually subtly placed throughout the entire cover. I think the album art is super cool, like the front with the band illustrated at this pool. One side is very rocky, the other side, not rocky, but like wavy. The other side is very still, where the violinist is, and this guy with the sky suit on. That's really cool. And honestly, this cover visually rejects the era that comes right before, that dark purple rain masculine energy. This one is bright, whimsical, spiritual, playful, and abstract. This illustration, I think it's so cool. It's like he wanted to reset the expectations before even pressing play to hear the music. This particular music was released on the Paisley Park Records and distributed by Warner Brothers. And as we know, Paisley Park was Prince taking back the ownership of his sound and his music. So shout out to Paisley Park and the many things and songs it's inspired creatives to get into independent ownership. Like I said before, this album, Around the World in a Day, literally was so different from Purple Rain. There was more minimal guitar compared to Purple Rain. Again, I'm just comparing it to the album before it. There was heavy use of drum machines, lots of different synth textures, lots of strings, and you can hear the influences from the world. Prince literally was never predictable and always seemed so comfortable just trying new things. If there's anything that I could take away from this album, the release, and Prince, the artist, it would be to remember that your creativity should never chase success. You know, he had a very successful album before this, Purple Rain, but he didn't let that stop him being creative. And because of that, we got this era. In 1985, we got this album, Around the World in a Day. And if he were to stay in that box, we would have never gotten this. This album shows that Prince chose art over expectation. It's the blueprint for artists who want to break their own momentum on purpose so that they can express their wants, needs, desires, the things they need to say in a different way so that people can actually listen, you know. And that's whether you have this huge success or you're just starting out. It doesn't matter, you know. Like, there are going to be times where you're going to have to just say something different in a different way. And there are people out there who need to hear it and who need to be inspired by it. You know, we're still talking about it. It's almost 40 years later, you know. Super cool. Super cool. If Purple Rain made Prince untouchable, Around the World in a Day made him unpredictable. So to all the creatives out there, be more unpredictable. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Kyra, and I hope you're having a beautiful evening, day, night, wherever you are. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and also let me know what my next vinyl should be. What should the buy be? I'm trying to grow my collection, so put me on to some new artists, some new music. I love music from the 70s, from the 80s, from the 60s, really from the 60s and the 70s. Those are like my favorite. So put me on any genre: jazz, gospel, hip hop, R&B, anything. I'm into it. All right, peace, guys. Love you.